Welcome to Renew Her, a podcast for women over 50 ready to reignite their energy and explore what's next. I'm Janelle Lemley, brain fitness coach. Here, you'll hear real stories from women taking on new challenges after 50, along with brain health tips to boost focus, energy, and the mindset to move forward with confidence. Let's dive into today's episode. Hey there, and welcome back to Brain Notes, where we explore what affects your brain health, how your brain shapes your daily life, and simple ways to improve it. When you think about protecting your brain, what comes to mind? Maybe crossword puzzles, exercise, getting enough sleep, eating right. But have you ever thought about your ears, or your teeth, or even your gut? As it turns out, your brain doesn't work alone. It's constantly communicating with the rest of your body. And some surprising body parts may have a bigger impact on your memory and cognitive health than you realize. Let's start with your ears. When was the last time you had your hearing checked? Have you noticed that conversations in noisy restaurants seem harder to follow than they used to? Or maybe you find yourself asking people to repeat themselves more often. It turns out that hearing loss in midlife isn't just a hearing issue. Research has shown that untreated hearing loss is associated with an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. In fact, experts consider it one of the most important modifiable risk factors for dementia. Now, hearing loss doesn't mean you'll definitely develop dementia. It simply means your risk is higher. Scientists are still trying to understand exactly why these two are connected. Part of it may be because when hearing declines, the brain has to work harder just to interpret sounds, leaving fewer resources available for memory and thinking. Another reason may be social isolation. Think about it. If conversations become difficult or exhausting, people often begin withdrawing from social situations without even realizing it. And we know that staying socially connected is incredibly important for brain health. The encouraging news: studies suggest that hearing aids may help reduce the risk of cognitive decline and improve thinking and memory. So if you've been putting off a hearing test, or if you know someone who is reluctant to wear hearing aids, it may be time to have that conversation. Because it's not just about hearing better, it's about preserving brain function. And remember, your brain doesn't work alone. Now, here's one that surprised me when I first learned about it. Could one of the simplest things you do every day, brushing and flossing your teeth, actually help protect your memory? Your mouth is home to billions of bacteria. Most are harmless, but when oral hygiene is neglected, gingivitis, the earliest stage of gum disease, can develop. Left untreated, it can progress to periodontitis, a more serious form of gum disease. These conditions create chronic inflammation, and inflammation is one of the biggest enemies of brain health. Researchers have found links between periodontal disease and cognitive decline, including Alzheimer's disease, the most common form of dementia. Harmful bacteria from the mouth can enter the bloodstream and may contribute to inflammation that affects the brain. While researchers are still working to understand the exact relationship, maintaining good oral health appears to be one more important way to support long-term brain health. And this is especially important for those of us with aging parents. I know from my own experience with my parents that personal hygiene can sometimes slip as people age. Brushing, flossing, or keeping regular dental appointments may become more difficult. And that's why maintaining oral health becomes about much more than preserving a smile. It's an investment in brain health. And there's one more body part that deserves a mention: your gut. Have you ever had butterflies before giving a presentation or noticed that stress affects your digestion? That's because your gut and your brain are constantly talking to one another through something called the gut-brain axis. In fact, scientists often refer to the gut as the body's second brain. Trillions of bacteria live in your digestive tract, and they influence inflammation, immune function, and even the production of neurotransmitters. In fact, about 90% of serotonin, the neurotransmitter often associated with mood, is produced in the gut. When the gut microbiome becomes imbalanced, it can contribute to inflammation throughout the body, including the brain. Emerging research is showing that gut health may influence not only mood and anxiety, but also memory and cognitive function. Researchers are continuing to explore how changes in the gut microbiome may affect the risk of neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's disease. We'll save that deep dive for another Brain Notes episode, but for now, here's what I want you to remember. What feeds your gut also feeds your brain. And once again, your brain doesn't work alone. It depends on your gut. So what do your ears, your teeth, and your gut all have in common? They influence the brain through inflammation, communication pathways, and overall health. Your brain isn't an isolated organ living on its own. It's part of an interconnected system. And protecting your brain doesn't always require doing something complicated. Sometimes it looks like scheduling a hearing test. Sometimes it means flossing your teeth. And sometimes it's choosing foods that nourish the beneficial bacteria in your gut. Small choices, big impact, because your brain doesn't work alone. Thanks for joining me for Brain Notes. And until next time, take care of your body and you'll be taking care of your brain. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Renew Her. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't let it fade. Take even a small step toward what's next. If you found value in what you heard, please subscribe, leave a review, or share this podcast with a woman who's ready to take her next bold step. Together, we're building a community of strong, resilient women, navigating what's next with courage and purpose. Until next time, stay energized and keep embracing what's possible.